Debbie Flowers in the studio with us today, and we're tackling some of your questions. Debbie, let's tackle Brenda's question about raised beds and ants.
Okay.
Hi, Farmer Fred and Debbie Flower. This is Brenda. I live in Elk Grove, California. I have 2 large raised beds. They're about 2 feet off the ground, 4 by 8 each. They are infested with ants. What have I done wrong, and how can I get rid of these things? Thanks a lot. Love your show. Bye.
Brenda, you haven't done anything wrong. Ants are part of our yards.
Yep.
They were here first.
Yep. You've done absolutely nothing wrong.
Yeah. Ants just like raised beds.
Yes.
It's all that loose soil, I think.
It's kind of dry there, yes.
Yeah. And there's food to eat, too.
Yes. And there might be plants with aphids on them that the ants can tend and collect the honeydew from those aphids. But it is a problem when you get too many in your raised bed.
Yeah, and the fact that they are nature's little cowboys herding those aphids around to various parts of your plants, where those aphids then suck on your plant parts and excrete that euphemism honeydew, which the ants take back and feed to the queen. But I think ants can be fairly easily controlled with fairly moderate chemicals. I consider boric acid a fairly moderate chemical.
Right. It's something that if your pet gets into it at the rates it's being used, anything is toxic at some point. Toxicity is all about rates. How strong is that chemical at that moment? But in the rates that it's used in ant baits, commercial or whether you make your own, it is so minimal that your pets can eat it. It can run into your fish pond and it won't hurt them. Birds can come by and eat it, whatever, and it will not harm them. So you can buy commercial ant baits. I have had this problem not in my raised bed, and my raised bed is also 4 by 8 and about 2 feet high. They haven't been there, although my raised beds are in one of the wetter parts of my yard, so they probably couldn't get there. They couldn't swim. But I've had that problem in containers on my patio, and I go out to tend. It was my catmint that it happened to last. Tend that plant, and it's just ants coming out all over the place, or watering it and ants coming out all over the place, climbing up on the plant. And I used, in that case, commercial ant bait. I put several in the top of it was probably a 12 to 15 inch diameter pot, and opened them up, left them there, went away, and came back a few days later, and all the ants were gone.
Yeah, we should point out we're talking about ant bait, not ant traps, because the goal here is for them to take back that boric acid and feed everybody else back at the colony.
They have to feed the queen. Ants are like bees in that regard. They have a queen, and she does all the baby making, and she keeps, the ants will stick around as long as there's a queen there to serve. And if the queen dies, the ants just take off, and I don't know if they die or what they do, but the colony disperses. So you've got to feed that boric acid ant bait to the queen to kill the colony.
There are many formulations of boric acid. In some formulations, it's referred to on the label as orthoboric acid. In others, there may be some other form of borate in there, but they all basically work the same way. It's a bait that, when used judiciously, not too much and not too little, the ants will find attractive and take back to their nest. Ants in a raised bed is much like ants in a pile of mulch. There have been times in my career of moving and shoveling mulch from one part of the yard to the other is when I stick that shovel into a pile that's been sitting there for a few months. All of a sudden, the ants are very active. All of a sudden, hey, get out of our house. And so I'll go back in the house and I'll get a can of boric acid powder. Commercially, one name is roach proof.
Yeah, it's sold as roach killing.
But it's boric acid,
right,
and it's like a powder. And I would go back to the mulch pile and see where the ants were coming from, dig a little bit. You can find out pretty quickly, and just throw, half a cup or a cup worth of boric acid into there, cover it back up, go away, and then come back 2 weeks later, start shoveling, and there's no ants.
That's pretty cool, because in that's full concentration, and somehow you're getting to the queen.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
But you're right. If you put it on too thickly, and you can find boric acid products in spray bottles, not spray bottles, but squeeze bottles as well. And if you apply it too thickly, they figure out, oh, we need to walk around this.
Right. Or if your bait contains too high a concentration of it, they pick it up and start their trek back to the queen and die before they get to her. And so she doesn't get a dose of it and she doesn't die.
Well, what you just heard is a teaser for the complete podcast that accompanies this edition of the Beyond the Garden Basics newsletter. And that podcast that's available to paid subscribers is more than twice as long. So if you want to read and hear more about control strategies for ants, both indoors and outdoors, please become a paid subscriber to the Beyond the Garden Basics newsletter and podcast. Paid subscribers are going to find out more about the benefits of highly effective liquid boric acid products for ant control. They're going to learn how to control ants in a raised garden bed. Plus, Debbie Flower's recipe for homemade ant control that uses boric acid and sugar, and what sort of a container works best for that concoction. And as an extra added bonus, paid subscribers will be able to read an Iowa State University report about how ants are ecologically beneficial. All that awaits paid subscribers to the Beyond the Garden Basics newsletter and podcast for this edition. Don't forget that paid subscribers also get access to the complete library of newsletter editions. There's more than 200 of those now. Plus, it lets me know that I'm really doing something worthwhile here. It's something that you might find of value occasionally. The Beyond the Garden Basics podcast comes out twice a week. It comes out on Mondays and Fridays. So thanks for becoming a paid subscriber. Just click on the subscribe link in the newsletter to keep the good research-based gardening information coming your way. And you'll get the rest of this podcast and the complete newsletter, including the transcription. Thank you for listening and reading.